Hi, everybody. Welcome. Glad you could make it. I will be sharing my screen in just a moment. Hopefully, you'll see the opening slide. It's zeroing in on specific soft skills. The title slide, a little bit more about me, what Adam just shared. I have my own business. I started this company in 2018 after 26 years of corporate human resource experience, and I'm now a consultant for small businesses on HR. And as part of that, I created these mini training programs for my clients, which are now hour-long training programs that I bring to places like SCORE and others for free, just as part of sharing some of the information with you. I find that things like soft skills are not often taught the way they should be in your school or in your work or whatever it might be. So hopefully you'll find some things here that help. What I'm really trying to do today, and what I hope you see today, is I've got four major objectives for you. And by the end of the program, I hope you walk away with this. I want to talk to you more about how soft skills are important to your success, to general success in the workplace. And that's both you personally as you're receiving soft skills, and then you externally as you give soft skills, as you are soft skills learning and growing and doing. I want you to understand what those key workplace soft skills are. These are the ones that, in my experience, in my 30 years of doing this, from my reading, from my academics, from my execution, these are the things I've come up with that I believe are essential for you in the workplace. So I'll try to share that with you today. At the end of the class, I'd like you to have improved communication, have a little bit more depth on problem solving, and certainly be able to use conflict resolution with soft skills and using soft skills and create that. Overall, though, among everything else, I've got over 50 tools, little bullets here and there that hopefully you'll be able to leave with today, tools for your toolbox. I believe, and in my experience, I've seen this as an HR person working with performance management and other issues at work. If every problem looks like a nail, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem is going to look like a nail. So I want to give you these tools that you can use multiple times, maybe just once in your life. Maybe there's a tool that you have in your toolbox that you'll only use once and you'll never use it again, but you can pay it forward or lend it to someone. So I want to give you multiple tools for this toolbox. So not every problem looks like a nail, and you can figure out how to execute and do better at work, and also how you can be better for yourself humanly. Every training I do for my clients, as well as the stuff I do for SCORE, I want to give you the stuff for the workplace. That's why we're here. It's workplace stuff. Also, hopefully, you'll be able to use this for personal use as you go about your day. So let's start with soft skills. Soft skills are also business skills. The term soft skills can sometimes get a bad rep because it sounds like soft skills. Well, no, soft skills opposed to technical skills are the things you need in the workplace to succeed, to grow, to have a good day versus bad day. So these are the things I've identified for you as soft skills. I have 16 that I teach on. I boiled that down to 6 that are, in my opinion, essential first ones that you need to have for the workplace. We're going to talk today about communication. We're going to talk today about empathy, emotional intelligence. Then we're going to get into customer service and respect and civility. We're going to talk about teamwork, and we'll wrap up the day with conflict resolution, hopefully give you some skills and tools you can use to resolve conflict at home and at work. I also want to plant this seed for you before we get into the full-on training with communication, is soft skills can be learned. Don't let anyone tell you that you're either born with soft skills or you're not. Yes, there are people that have natural talent. Those are mostly technical, or at least technical can be learned also, but you have the baseline for you're athletic, you're not athletic. You've got more of a competency intellectually than others. Sure, there are some things that we start with that other people may not have, but soft skills by themselves, communication, teamwork, conflict resolution, civility, respect in the workplace, all of these things can be learned. You can research how to do it. You can observe how others do it. You can practice your own way to do it. You can seek opportunities to effectively be soft skills literate, to learn what that means to have this new soft skill. I'll tell you, as you go through this training, it's my wish that every one of you will say, oh, I knew that. That's a good refresher. But I can tell you from experience, that's not the case. A good amount of times I have to performance manage an employee. It's because of a soft skill, because of a behavior at work that they have not really figured out how to talk politely to someone else, how to receive constructive feedback. Those types of things I hopefully will teach you today and you can walk away with. I also want to plant this seed for you. If you find yourself sitting next to someone, and most, I mean, all of you are on a webinar at this point, but there might be some of you sitting in an office together, or even just euphemistically or metaphorically, if you're thinking about, boy, I need to elbow that person in the ribs next to me. They need to hear what Alan just said about soft skills or about emotional intelligence or about teamwork. I want you to pause. Almost always, it starts with you. If you're thinking someone else should be hearing that, I want you to stop for a second, look in a mirror, and say, am I really the best I can be in that soft skill? Think about the things as you come up with today that you can learn. Go back to Google, YouTube, read a book, call me. I offer free support after this, for limited, of course, but for folks that have questions, happy to do that. I want you to learn how to learn. And I can give you some of those tools as we go through it. So let's start with communication. In my opinion, communication is the single most important soft skill that you must have to effectively manage yourself, your business, your behaviors in the office. It's giving and taking on communication. Communication, there are 6 ways. There's more than 6 really, but this is a good general way to start. When you think about communication, most of us think about spoken communication or written communication or somehow like sharing words with someone. Did you know that 70-something% of your communication is nonverbal? Your eye contact, your body language, your hand gestures, how long you look at someone, how long you shake someone's hand or hold the hand when you're shaking it. Nonverbal is a good amount of the communication. Paraverbal are the inflections, the tones, the way we say things. You ever have someone, a significant other in particular, or anyone say to you, it's not what you said, it's how you said it? That's the paraverbal. It's a term that is you may not be aware of as a term, but that's the tone and inflection. We talked about the written, of course. Body language is a form of nonverbal. It's all part of it. Art, music, other ways we communicate that we don't even think about, that don't use, or they use words, we don't speak them. We just play music or we listen to music. We go to a show. There's all kinds of ways we communicate that are encompassed in the term, in the form of communication, that I think is really important for you to appreciate. I mentioned before that nonverbal is 70% of how you communicate. Pay attention to your body language. If you find that you are reacting to someone, so let's start with this. I'm crossing my arms right now on the screen. Hopefully you can see that. We're taught early on that crossing arms is generally not a great thing. It means you're holding back, you're closed, you're defensive. There are all kinds of things we think about negative for crossing arms. But what if I'm just doing this? I'm just talking to you like this. My eyebrows are up. My arms are closed. I'm leaning forward. I'm really getting into it. My voice and inflection is positive, upbeat. You might still look at my closed arms and think, my crossed arms, and think that I'm being closed and I'm hiding something. So I want you to recognize if you receive it that way, chances are they're receiving it from you that way too. Be conscious of what you're observing someone else doing nonverbally, and be sure to act appropriately on the return. Because nonverbal isn't just what you're giving, it's what you're receiving as well from a nonverbal. One other thing I'll share with you on this slide, and you'll hear me say this a few times today, and if you know me at all, I say this regularly in my conversations and my coaching sessions. Learn to assume good intent. Most of the time, people do not wake up first thing in the morning and think, how can I ruin Alan's life? What can I do today to make Alan miserable or to hurt him or to make it hard for him to do his job? Most of the time, people are not looking for ways to mess with you or to make it hard for you. Sometimes people are. There are certainly times where you have to differentiate good intent from malintent. That's not what this class is about. We have other courses. I have a course on civility I do for SCORE also. I'd love for you to attend if that's something you want to get deeper into. If you start your day and start your conversations and start your communication with assuming good intent, it will absolutely change how you think about things and how you go about it. Specifically, body language is a big part of nonverbal. I want you to watch your eye contact, your facial expressions, your posture, the gestures you use. You start pointing at someone. There's a difference between saying, hey, Adam, can you check the Q&A versus, Adam, how's it going? Would you mind checking the Q&A? There's a whole lot, and I'm not asking you to do that right now. That's an example. But as you think about your body language, your paraverbals, your inflections, that makes a huge difference. Nodding when someone's talking implies that you're listening. Leaning forward when they talk implies that you're listening. The nonverbals and the forms of active listening help with that. So avoiding the interruptions, paying attention. You ever been talking to someone and they're looking at their smartwatch, right? They get a buzz on their wrist about a message that just came in. That's distracting. Nobody wants that. So think about how you're listening actively and how someone is non-verbally active listening with you. A pet peeve of mine is when I'm having a conversation with someone and their form of active listening is, uh-huh, yeah, gotcha, sure. That to me is a form of interrupting, which is uncivil and creates a discourse. So I have to go back to assume good intent. They're not actively listening verbally to bother me or to mess with my presentation. That's how they actively listen. So if I assume good intent on how they're responding to my discussion, then I'm not going to get upset anymore about how they are potentially interrupting me, which they're really not. So watch for those things. A form of active listening also, I get this question a lot, so I'll cover it right now. Ask clarifying questions. Some people take offense to that because they feel like it's dummying down the conversation. I just explained to you how to turn on the computer, and you're asking me to re-explain how to turn on the computer. Assume good intent, assume that they really do want to learn, and assume own it. Maybe you didn't explain it as well as you could. So always look in the mirror, always think about what you can do and how you can make it better. A big part of communication includes words, power of words. I talked to you that nonverbals are 70% of how you communicate. Words still matter, y'all. Words still matter. Use inclusive language. Think about we, us, them. Why did you do that to me? You ever have a fight with your spouse or significant other or a kid or a parent? And a lot of times you just want to blame someone. Well, if you hadn't done it that way, I wouldn't be in this predicament. If you think about inclusive, you're a team. It's not you against them. It's the two of you together against the problem. That helps with the inclusive process. Absolutely avoid discrimination, other types of words that are discriminatory, and think about your inflection and the paraverbals I mentioned. And here's an example I put up here that kind of ties it together a little bit for you as we get into emotional intelligence. So think about this. If you want to just read this sentence to yourself and however you want to read it, most people will say this out loud as private, no swimming allowed. We think about a sign in front of a lake or a pool or private, no swimming allowed. But what if it was this? Private? No. Swimming allowed. The words, the inflections, the punctuation marks, all of those pieces, the way the sentence is worded from one line to two lines to three lines, all of that makes a difference in communication. If you can look at this and take this as, I need to think about how I communicate. I'm not getting along with Alan in the office. Why could that be? Is it because Alan doesn't listen? Maybe. Is it because you're not communicating as well as you could? Maybe. Assume good intent. Start with you. We'll cover a little bit more about that later. These are the soft skills from a communication perspective that will really help you as you think about your business and your and what you do at work. I want to cover empathy and emotional intelligence. Then I'll take a break, and if we have any questions in the chat or the Q&A, we'll cover that after this module. I have 6 modules. So we'll do 2 modules, break for questions, 2 modules, break for questions, and then we'll do the last 2 modules. Empathy and emotional intelligence is one of those things, well, emotional intelligence in particular, but empathy also. Sometimes it's really hard to define. People will say you either have it or you don't. I think to some extent, sure, but remember, all of these soft skills can be learned. If you're someone that doesn't have a whole lot of empathy, where you care about other people or what they go through, that can make you very good at some jobs, but not very good in teamwork and other soft skills in the business. Having emotional intelligence, which is the inside, it's understanding how you react to things, self-awareness, self-intelligence, those types of things. So I'm going to get into it with you. You'll have access to these slides if you want them, so you can always reference this back. I try to put stuff in my slides and my teachings that we may not cover everything in this training, but you're able to come back to, read it at your leisure. The point of empathy is at the bottom in the red lettering. Empathy is the ability to identify with another person's experience. Emotional intelligence, which we'll cover in the next slide, is you. That's inside. It's in your head, your body, your heart. Empathy is what you think about other people, how you care about other people. Different from sympathy, empathy is identifying with someone else's problem or whatever it might be. So if someone comes to you and says, I broke my arm in 2 places, what should I do? And you say, stay out of those 2 places. That's not empathy. Empathy is, oh no, let's see what we can do to get you medical attention. It's caring for someone else. In a business setting, it's more about avoiding gossip and more about caring about how you interact with someone else and you answer their questions, you show up on time. We'll cover some of that also later. But empathy is how you deliver that compassion or thought or support to someone else, versus emotional intelligence, which is related but different, which is inside. It's your self-awareness, it's your self-management, it's your or your social awareness, your relationship management. The tricky thing about emotional intelligence is if you're someone right now saying, I own emotional intelligence, I have no problems with emotional intelligence, I'm all over it, I'm sorry to say that chances are you're not nearly as emotional intelligent as you think you are, because true emotional intelligence includes self-awareness to the extent where you recognize that there's more to do, more emotional intelligence, more to learn, more to give, more to handle, more internally. If you're not sure what I'm talking about because you lack the self-awareness, I would encourage you, go watch a YouTube video with either Simon Sinek or all of these guys, Simon Sinek, Brene Brown, Sheryl Sandberg. Those are 3 of my favorites. They have these 10-minute, 5-minute quickie social skills, behavioral skills, these soft skills that they can teach you. They also have hour-long, 2-hour-long seminars and programs. They have books, and it's not just them. You can type into the YouTube or the Google or even the Chat GPT, how do I get emotional intelligence, or what classes or what learnings are there for emotional intelligence or self-awareness or any of these things. The problem that I have with self-awareness when I'm trying to performance manage a poor performing employee is if you don't have self-awareness, you'll never know you don't have self-awareness because you don't have the self-awareness to know that you don't have self-awareness. And it's a real interesting, crazy, vicious cycle. I would encourage you, if you're at all curious about this, there's a lot of opportunity to learn. I want you to learn to keep your interactions positive. This is all around emotional intelligence and self-awareness and empathy. Do your very level best to avoid office gossip. The more gossip you participate in, the more down you'll become, the worse it'll be for you with self-awareness. Complaining also. Complaining for the purposes of improving a business condition is absolutely, A, it's protected by law, and B, it's something I encourage every employee at every one of my clients and all through my corporate career. If you've got a problem with the work environment, I want to hear about it, but don't complain about it. Come up with a logical, rational explanation of why it's a problem. If you're just going around gossiping and complaining about the light's been out in the closet for 2 weeks and HR is awful and facilities is awful and nobody wants to fix this, what's the point of that? That's just gossip and complaining. Why not just go to who you need to go to, ask for it to be fixed, and then go about your business? Always look for the positive as much as you can. That will really help you in your walk toward improving your business skills and your social skills. Learn to use the word and instead of but. It changes a lot about how you think and about how people hear what you're talking about. Practice it when you can. There are certainly times that the word but is necessary. You must use but to create conversational transition into another form or another direction. If you can learn to use the word and instead of but, you will see so many changes in your mindset. It's really, 2-something decades ago, I learned this trick, and I'm passing it on to you. It's another tool for your toolbox. Adding it to your verbal repertoire will really help. And lastly, I've shared this with you before, assume good intent. To the best of your ability, assume good intent. I'm not out to get you. I'm not looking to waste an hour of your time. I'm not looking to convert you for anything. I just want to teach you. And if you can accept that, then you will have a much better time in this class than if you're sitting there, I had a conversation the other day with a client, and they were having trouble finding resumes for their open job. And I said, have you looked at Indeed? Indeed's the largest job search tool in the country, if not world. I don't know if it'll be effective for you or not, but have you thought about posting a job on Indeed? It's not that expensive. Oh, Indeed, they just want my money. They're just a business that's looking to get my money. That's not good intent. That's assuming that there's a negative instead of the positive. Well, while what you said is true, that all Indeed wants to do is get money so they can build their business, that's not their mission. Their mission is to create jobs or to match jobs and people. So if you take the good intent of this as, oh, it's a good tool, I can post my job and maybe I can get people to apply, that's the point of that. So I want you to try to add that to your thought process in other things and other ways that can help you. Another form, and this is my last slide before I'll start taking questions. Another piece of emotional intelligence, assuming good intent, empathy, all of those things we're talking about, communication too, to some extent, in my opinion, starts with you and your humility. What do you think about other people? And I'm going to cover in a little bit about respect and civility and owed respect versus earned respect. This is planting the seed for that. Do you have humility? Do you actually believe that you are the best in the world at what you do? That's hard to say yes to. Some of you do, whether you're just playing or you think it's true, like there's no one better than you. I promise you, no matter where you go, who you are, what you do, there's always somebody better. That is a certain level of humility. A friend of mine said it this way. He said, do you think there's even a 1% chance, a small percent chance that you're wrong? If I think there's a 1% chance that I could be wrong, I have to believe that it's possible I could be wrong. 99% is a lot. But if there's a small piece that you could be wrong, that's humility. It's recognizing that you're not always right all the time, in every situation. It's listening to hear, right? I want to hear what you have to say. I don't want to be heard. I'm not waiting for you to finish so I can jump into what you just told me. I'm listening to hear you. Take a look at this. You can take a snapshot if you want. You'll have access to this slide also. But these 9 things for humility, check these boxes. If there's one of these 9 boxes you can't check, go to the YouTube, the Google, or the ChatGPT or something, whatever your research tool of choice is, and look it up and say, how do I allow others to be first? And just get some data. It'll help you. All right, here's customer service. Let's go ahead and look and see if we have any questions. Adam, is anything in the chat or the Q&A?
I got nothing.
Okay. Okay, super. If any questions do come up, team, just feel free to drop them in chat or Q&A. Sometimes Q&A is challenging. So if you can't get into Q&A, do it in the chat. But we'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to answer any questions you have as we go through. Third module of my 6 modules is customer service. I want you to recognize that customers, everyone that you come in contact with, is a customer. I want you to think about the people you work with. I want you to think about your boss. I want you to think about me and Adam, the other people on this call. We're all your customers. If you can get that mindset, that will help you tremendously in building up your soft skills in the workplace. This is a good time to remind you also, if you're thinking, I do that, Alan. I think of everyone as a customer. I just wish my cube mate would do the same thing. You may be right. You may be the best at customer relations and all that. But remember, start with you. If you think that someone else isn't, you come up and you'll see later I talk about controlling your controllables. What can you do differently or for you that makes it better for you, that you are managing you? Because you can't control other people, right? You might be able to push their buttons or create a behavior at some level that makes them get angry, but you control your controllables. You control your reactions. You control what you learn, what you eat, what you do. You're controlling those. I was and I'll cover this. I'll get a little bit ahead. I was an HR generalist for a retail company, and one of our mantras at the time was about this: control your controllables. We were storefront, and well, we had multiple. It was a big company. There were storefronts everywhere. The idea was we can't control actually who walks in the store. anyone can walk in the store, or anyone may not walk in the store. We may have no customers. But what we can control is, are the windows clean? Are the carpets vacuumed? Are the displays in order? Are the fingerprints not smudged? Are the chairs for them to sit on clean? Even if no one sits on them, are the chairs clean? So control your controllables. Think about that with customers too. Everyone at some level is your customer. What is customer service? And think about you as a customer. When you walk into whatever it is, the Chipotle or the Popeyes or the car dealer or the Walmart, or you go somewhere and you're expecting to be served, you're paying for service. Are you a good customer? Do you say please and thank you? How do you feel about their customer service? How are they treating you? Are they greeting you well? You ever make a phone call for customer service? And let's say you called me and I asked, Alan, what? Did you even hear me? How about, hi, thanks for calling. This is Alan. There are ways that you can respond that take very little extra time that create a customer service mentality and attitude. When I teach job seekers, when I coach them on finding work, I tell them when you go to visit a client, when you go to visit a company during the interview, I want you to think about airspace. You are interviewing for that job the moment you enter that company's airspace, before, during, and after. The moment you enter the airspace, the moment you see the building, assume they see you. The moment you park your car, assume they see you. The moment you walk in the door, assume whoever you see first is going to be your interviewer or weighing in on the interview. Same thing at the end. You're still interviewing until you've left the airspace. If you pull out, peeling out, and you are driving recklessly and you just want to get out of there, or you're creating a scene on the way out, or you're honking your horn, that's not very good. And that will go, if they're watching, that will go into the interview. So I want you to think about that from a customer service perspective too. It starts all the way through and includes all the things I put on this slide. Remember to smile. For those of you that work on the phone, if you're receiving a phone call, if you are making a phone call, if you are working on the website, even if your video is off, but you're talking, think about smiling. Your smile carries. Back early on in my career, I was a customer service representative, and we used to have mirrors on the wall. Now we have reflections on the computer screens, of course. We used to have mirrors on the wall that we would look at the mirror when we talked. What it did was it helped you keep your chin up, because if you ever notice when your chin is down, that's a paraverbal that changes how the inflection of your throat and how you articulate. So we learned to keep our chin up, looking at the mirror over the cube wall. We'd look at the mirror, so we'd have our eyes open, we'd be smiling, we'd see our facial expressions. People actually see you through the words you speak if they can't literally see you. So I want you to think about smiling in the course of your day, and especially when you're talking to folks. Learn to stay positive. If you're not sure how to stay positive, I want you to learn. Do something, whatever it is. Exercise in the morning, do some kind of mantra to keep you positive. Think about ways that you can not think about what other people are doing wrong. Because remember, you can't control other people. You can only control you. If you're allowed to personalize your workspace, personalize it. Put a picture up of something that's important to you that's not offensive to other people. A picture of a spouse or significant other, your pet, whatever it might be. Your car, if you love your car. Think about if you run into something negative, if somebody says something to you that you don't want to hear or you don't think is appropriate, that's okay. It's not a negative. It's an opportunity to learn. Yes, that's a little nirvana-ish. Yes, that's a little bit, whoa, where's he going with this? Okay, I get that. But if you can learn this stuff, if you can get yourself to clean up your mind just a little bit, assume good intent, view these situations as positive opportunities to learn, and it may not be right away. You may need time to process it. I want you to learn how to do that. I want to get into teamwork now. This is our fourth module. This is a really important soft skill that goes hand in hand to some extent with customer service. I find that many of the conversations I have in an organization, it almost always starts with communication, by the way. It's the inability to express yourself in a positive manner that other people can take to learn from or to hear you in a way that allows for collaboration. It's a lot of people will tend to communicate the way they think they should communicate versus how people need to hear them communicate, which is why I tried to teach you all that stuff before about nonverbals, body language, paraverbals, the words you use. People have to receive it positively in a way for you to have a positive interaction. Teamwork goes a long way with that. That's a bit about how you work with, it's like customer service. It's mostly internal in what you do with each other. So how do you be a good team member? Whether you're leading teams or a subordinate on a team, almost all of us have to work with someone else at some point in our lives. Probably we're working with someone else at some extent today in our jobs or being on a ball field or taking the day off, whatever it is, there's always people around. I want you to learn to identify other people. Remember, assume good intent and control your controllables. Everyone around you, and we'll cover this later with respect, everyone around you have a certain amount of talent, skills, resources, and expectations. Everyone has something, and you don't know what they're going through either. So we're going to get to that with civility. But identifying capabilities, learn to recognize what that team member's talent is, whether it complements your talent or replaces your talent. So maybe it's the same talent, you're not as good as them. Recognize that respectfully. It's usually a different talent or somebody that can learn from you or you work together. Recognize skills. The more you can see these 4 traits in your team members, the better a team member you will be. I want you to also learn the whole process. Understand what the business approach is, what that whole thing is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Some jobs are compartmentalized. You really aren't allowed in a security clearance situation, or maybe it's a confidentiality or privacy. If you're dealing with HIPAA or other privacy issues, then maybe you can't know everything. The more you can learn the whole process, the more you can learn point A to point Z and what that looks like, it will help you avoid isolation, know what to expect from others and what they can expect from you. And it gives you the opportunity to jump in and help someone in a time of need. It builds collaborative relationships on both sides. Professionalism is a form of teamwork that is unfortunately something that I have to jump into also with my clients when it comes to performance. It's showing up on time, working a full day. You're supposed to be there at 9, be there at 9. You're supposed to be ready to work at 9, be ready to work at 9, not 9:15. The shift's over at 5, not 4:45. So working a full day, being there, speaking clearly and politely to others, presenting yourself in a clean and neat attire, positive grooming, just being professional to an extent that you respect other people. That's a big part of it. And always trying to do your best. If you're just going in, the quiet quitting term from a few years ago that's actually been around for as long as I've been in HR, just haven't been calling it quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is a real thing, and it's a psychology which includes some of the things we talked about with self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Striving to do the best job you can under the circumstances you're presented is a form of professionalism and makes you a good team member. I also want you to learn to get over the good old days. Because that's the way we've always done it doesn't mean we should always do it that way. And also, just because it didn't work before in a certain way doesn't mean it won't work again that way later. So you want to try different things, be open to trying new things, be honest with yourself and your viewpoint of what this looks like when it comes to the good old days or why you're not willing to change or try something new. This is a big part of emotional intelligence and being a good team member, huge part of soft skills. Top 5 communication tips if you're going to be a team member. The medium is the message. What does that mean? That means how you communicate. Are you going to send an email? Are you going to talk to someone face to face? Are you going to send a text? Are you going to call someone? Are you going to not say anything and hope it goes away? The medium is the message. So the importance of your organization's culture, I can't speak for your organization. In my organization, face to face is the most important. I find texting to be you need me now versus an email is let's work on this when we can work on this. That's my culture and my company's culture. Other cultures may be different. The medium's important. Reread your messages before you send them. If you're the one sending out texts or emails that aren't reread or aren't scrubbed for spelling or proper grammar or the intent, that can create a problem also. Think about what security looks like, about privacy and communicating online. Remember that in a company, all of your communication, all of your electronic communication is discoverable and is the property of the company. It's not your property. So if you send an email to someone on the company's server or through their internet system, that belongs to the company. And of course, skip it if it's not necessary. If you don't need to send the email, don't send the email. Okay, module 5, respect and civility, but let's take a sec first, Adam, if we could, and look at any questions in chat or Q&A.
You get one in the Q&A. How can we improve our emotional intelligence?
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that question. And I want you to think about what part of emotional intelligence you can start with. General emotional intelligence. My advice to you would be go into Google, the search bar in Google or Bing or whatever you use for search, or you can go into YouTube, or you can go into ChatGPT or any search engine that you prefer and type that exact question. Type that question, how can we improve our emotional intelligence? I want you to think about, if you do that, it'll give you some tools. My favorites are, there's three people I go to that I send my clients, employees to also. Simon Sinek, Sinek, Brene Brown, Brown, and Sheryl Sandberg, Sandberg. They've written books, they do YouTubes, they have seminars, paid and unpaid. So you can do all kinds of stuff. Those are really great ways to get more information about emotional intelligence. And then look at what you're missing. When you learn generally, you can look at my slide for how I define emotional intelligence, or you listen to them as they define emotional intelligence. That will help you determine how far to go and how deep to get. Thank you for that question.
Yep, there's another one. You're probably reading the Q&A already, so I'll let you take a look at those.
I appreciate
Harry,
that.
yeah, in the
Yep.
chat, Harry, can you do me a solid and expand on what you mean by that? Because I definitely want to address that in the chat. Go ahead. All right.
Let's
Alan.
no, go ahead, Jeb. So I'll do, I got two questions and then we'll go into the next mod if that's okay. So how do
All
you
right.
demonstrate empathy but not come across as a pushover when delivering feedback or addressing an issue? Super question. How do you present yourself in a way that's caring and empathetic without putting yourself out there as too vulnerable or allowing someone the opportunity to think they could take advantage of you? It is truly a tricky situation. So empathy to me is I care enough about what you're going through to actually stop and listen. Remember the humility slide I put up? That's where I think it starts, frankly. So as you think about being empathetic, you have to do that with boundaries. And I have something later on boundaries also that might help frame this. There are boundaries and there are processes that you can create that show you support someone. So how you do it will be subjective to that particular situation and that particular person. That's not a one size fits all. In general, though, if you're humble enough to recognize that you're good at what you do, and so are other people, and you're humble enough to recognize that me showing you compassion does not diminish me, it simply helps you. That's a baseline. It starts up here in your head for the person who asked that question. You can also go back to some of the other training suggestions I gave before. That might help you learn, get a little bit deeper with that. And then the last question, if that's okay, Adam, then I'll go to, then we do Q&A after. I want to go
Okay.
to finish the slides. What is the best way to practice your tips on soft skills, especially before we get triggered by certain people or situations? Oh, love that. There's a whole psychology around change management that allows you to balance yourself. Your first, the first thing I would ask you to do is assume good intent. I've said that a half a dozen times, and I'll say it hopefully another dozen times. Assume good intent. The two things you can do, and I want to get back to the question if I may. I just want to read that one more time. What is the best way to practice your tips on soft skills, especially before we get triggered by certain people and situations? You have to start by assuming good intent and controlling your controllables. I don't remember if I put a slide in this training. It's in my civility in the workplace training. When I say controlling your controllables, I'm a believer psychologically. You've heard it said, I'm sure, that nobody can control how you feel, nobody can control your behaviors. I don't know if I believe that people can't control how you feel. I think that people that are close to you know you well enough to press the buttons that are necessary to make you feel a certain way. People can make you feel scared. People can make you feel sad. I believe that. I know there's an argument against that. Some people don't believe that. I believe that's true. But I also believe is that while someone can control, it's possible for my wife to control how I feel to some extent, or my kids, or my close friends. What they can't control is my reaction. My reaction, my behavior is up to me. I would, whoever, because this is an anonymous, and I love, you don't have to say who you are. Start with assume good intent and recognize that you control your reactions. You control your controllables. You can't control what someone says to you, at least to some extent. I mean, that's an arguable point too, but really you can't control what somebody says to you. You can't control how they say it. You can't control how they are in the morning. The other thing I'll remind you is there is no one in this world, and I have yet for someone to prove me wrong. So if you can prove me wrong, prove me wrong. There's no one in this world that knows everything there is to know about you. There may be some, if you aggregate all the people you know, they may all together know everything about you, but there's no single one person in the world that knows everything there is to know about you. I have not been proven wrong on that. So if you think about that, as much as you think you are close to your best friend, your spouse, your kids, your whoever, they don't know everything about you, everything all the time. So if that's the case, how can you possibly know what your coworker is going through right now? How can you possibly know what they need to have a good day? How do you know what they walked in the office with? How do you know what their fight was in the morning with their significant other? What kind of car trouble they had? What kind of good news they have? You don't know any of that. So if you remember that, if you remember controlling your controllables and assuming good intent, maybe they're just having a bad day. We'll cover that in conflict resolution also. But if they're just having a bad, you don't know those things. That's how you kind of work that through. Kind of practice it. The other thing too is this is not overnight. It is learnable. I'm trying to teach it to you here. Hopefully you're picking up one or two of these nuggets. You can also go to these YouTube sites. You can read a book. You can practice it. You can go get, now there's also high cost stuff. You can get therapy and counseling, hire a job coach. You can do all these things, right? There are things that you can do. Start with the free and easy stuff. We all have access to the YouTube and the Google. Go search on some of the stuff. Okay, I'm going to keep going on respect and civility, and then we'll wrap up with conflict resolution. So respect and civility. And remember, I have a whole program with SCORE on civility by itself. So hopefully, if you have a chance to go to that too. Why do we practice civility? Karma, right? What comes around goes around. There's no escaping other people. It's the right thing to do. For work, it creates a positive work environment. Being nice to people. We talked about controlling controllables, being nice to people. This is the thing I wanted to share with you that I mentioned before. This is one of, if you've been to any of my other trainings, I show this slide in just about every training. I think it's so important. One of the main things you can do when you think about controlling your controllables, you think about assuming good intent, and action from that. So those are mindsets, right? Control your controllables, a mindset. It's a little bit of an action because you're controlling how you react. You're controlling, so that's an action to some extent. Assuming good intent is really a mindset. Owed respect and earn respect is an action. That starts in your head, but it's an action. Next time you're thinking about someone you work with that you don't like working with, or you like working with them, but you're having trouble, can't get a project done, whatever. If you're having trouble with someone, if you're thinking about, why can't they be nicer to me? Remember, it starts with you. Every single person, and you can start fresh right now. Remember, everything can be learned. So there is no, I can't forgive, I can't get over, I can't forget that. Start now, nothing else with this. Every single person on this call, on this webinar, is owed respect from you, from me, from each of us, toward each other, for no other reason than we're on this call together. Start there. You owe respect in the workplace to your coworker for no other reason than you both work in the same company together. Now, that respect can be lost, and that respect can be re-earned, and they can earn more respect. Start with, I owe them respect. Don't worry about what they're thinking or what they owe you or you've earned or whatever. You start fresh. Start at the ground level. Start as if it's your first day. You don't know anyone. I'm going to start fresh. I owe Alan respect because we're in the same company. Now, if Alan's a jerk to me later, maybe I can reduce some of that. I'm going to start with that. So if you can do this, that's another really cool tool for your toolbox that'll help you get through your day on the soft skill side and the civility side with respect and all that. Keeping respect for the workplace. We talked before about showing up on time. That's respecting the workplace. Conducting yourself appropriately, abiding by the company's policies. I'm not talking about illegal policies like we're not going to pay overtime over 40 hours because we don't pay overtime. Illegal, that's different. Rules, be here at 9, work a full day 9 to 5. wearing your company attire, dressing, grooming. You have to look at this is respect for the workplace. Respecting space and boundaries is another part of the civility in the workplace. Thinking about you borrowed someone's stapler, return the stapler. There's a door closed, knock on the door before you open it. Now, of course, there are rules that you may have set that are offline rules, like, yeah, just don't worry about you need a stapler, hold on to it. If I need it later, I'll come get it. All right. But let's say that's not the case. Or I have a client who they do meetings with closed doors that are private sessions, and they have signs for the door hangers. Please come in, knock first, in a meeting, which means don't bother me. I can't be bothered. So it's okay to do stuff like that. Recognize what the rules are for the organization and follow them. What is uncivil? Well, using abusive language. Sometimes it's appropriate in a company or allowed in a company to use foul language with cursing. That's okay. There's nothing illegal about that. It's just you can't make a hostile work environment. So if it's not allowed, if someone asks you to stop and you don't, and it creates a hardship for them, that could be a problem. In general, though, watch out for abusive language. It's not usually okay. Gossiping is usually not okay. Bullying and intimidating coworkers is usually not okay. And discounting employees' contribution, saying, "Oh, I could have done that." Yeah, anybody could do that. If you discount an employee's contribution, that's a form of uncivil behavior that also creates discord in the office. And the last slide on this section for civility that I'll share with you today is remember that it is a team contribution, starting with you. While you may be expecting things from other people and what the team can do, you have to start. You have to lead by example. If you see a piece of crumpled paper next to the garbage can, and you're like, why didn't somebody throw that away? Throw it away. It starts with you. Or you can go back to your desk and be all annoyed that people aren't throwing the trash away. What is that going to solve? So think about your team contribution, everybody working together, pulling their own weight, doing what they're supposed to do, starts with you. Okay, last module, conflict resolution, and then we probably have time for a question or two. One of the, almost every training I do, there's some level, I mean, even some of the questions we've seen here have to do with conflict. So I'm going to try to drop some seeds here, some tools for you also to deal with conflict, and hopefully this will help you as you go through. I cover conflict more also in civility if you wanted to come to that. But starting with this, conflict is not always negative. Conflict is not always violent. Conflict, however, is inevitable, and anyone can experience conflict. These are all inarguable facts. This is what the studies have shown, what the office workplaces have shown. This is academically and statistically. This is how it is. Anytime two or more people get together, there's an opportunity for conflict. It doesn't have to be bad, though. There could be good conflict. We've heard that diamonds come from coal with conflict, years and years and years, of course. So conflict can create positive things. Two teams that are battling for a championship in sports, that if you're on the losing side, it's negative. If you're on the winning side, it's positive. So not everything is a zero-sum kind of thing, but you can certainly work through some of the ways that you can look at conflict. You can argue over a client. That's not great conflict. Schedule changes can be positive or negative. Conflict, anytime there's change, two or more people get together, there's conflict. What I want you to think about is negative conflict, because negative conflict can turn to confrontation, and confrontation generally is what we want to avoid. As an HR person for workplace, I don't want confrontation. Conflict is fine with me. Who wants this? Let's have a contest to see who can make the most sales. Conflict. Should we go to Chick-fil-A or Burger King? Conflict. All positive. Confrontation is, why did you pick that? That wasn't okay. That's a difference. So I want you to avoid that. And these are 4 things. There's plenty more if we sat here and made a list. But these are the things that really start with negative conflict. Gossiping and rumoring, having a bad day, you walk in from a bad day, or you put someone down, or maybe you're just not feeling well. Having self-awareness for this, being aware of these things will help you get through some of this, and assuming good intent will help you get through it too when someone else is there. 4 ways you can handle conflict. Assume good intent. Yes, I've overused that, and yes, I will continue to overuse it because it's such an important thing for you. Don't make assumptions or jump to conclusions. Things are not always what they seem. And if you can focus on resolution and not blame, that will really help avoid conflict. What can you do? before when I told you about earned respect and owed respect. Find something in common. We're all at the company together. We're both working on this project. There's 50 something people sitting on this training. We're all hungry. What's the commonality that you can work on together to resolve the conflict? Learn constructive disagreement, to disagree agreeably. Do one of those YouTube videos, the freebies that I told you about. Go to if it's a spousal thing, go to a marriage conference. If it's a problem with your child, maybe you have to go to therapy. I mean, there's so many ways you can do. Learning to agree to disagree agreeably will incredibly help your soft skill for team management, for conflict resolution, for business growth, and remembering that it is absolutely normal to disagree. Whenever two or more people get together, there's the opportunity for conflict, certainly disagreement. Another tool is a root cause. If you've ever studied this is a cool thing to study, by the way. If you're not familiar with root cause analysis, they teach you to ask the question why 5 times. So I'm upset. Why? Practice on yourself. Start with your own. For those of us that deal with our own automobiles, you ever have a car that wouldn't start? The first thing you could say is, why didn't it start? Well, maybe it's the battery. Maybe it's the fuel pump. Maybe it's the whatever. It could be anything. But asking the question 5 times, why or how come, will help you get to a root cause, which also helps dramatically with conflict resolution or certainly confrontation avoidance. Another thing that I don't want to minimize is simple things like coping thoughts, taking a break, breathing techniques. This is a really important tool for your toolbox. What I do personally is something that has been called box breathing. I breathe in for a count of 5. I hold it for a count of 5. I breathe out for a count of 5, and I pause for a count of 5. Then I do it all over again. 3 of those is about a minute, and a lot happens in a minute, good and bad for that matter. Many things can get resolved with just a 20-second box breathing technique or a 1-minute self-therapeutic box breathing technique. Think about these 4 things that work for you and try to work that through. Also, when you communicate with someone, the agreement frame is really helpful. I appreciate this. I respect this. I agree. You're starting positive. So I appreciate what you said, and I'd like to talk more about it. I respect you. I respect what you said. I just don't understand. Can you help me? If you start with something positive, that softens it a little bit for transition. Build positive energy, reframe. Don't be afraid to ask the question, I'm not sure I understood what you said. Would you mind restating that? If you need a break, take a break. I hear you. I need to go use the bathroom. I need to take a minute. I need to process what you're saying. I remember assuming they mean well, assume good intent. And please don't be afraid to ask questions, especially clarifying questions. Can you help me get through this? Can you help me understand this? That'll help you too. Focusing on the behavior, not the person, is key. You ever hear the expression, hate the game, not the player? Same concept. It's not about you. I don't like you, so I'm going to be mad at you and not listen to you. Focus on the behavior. It's not about what kind of person. That person that you don't like, that you hate, that you think is making your day bad, somebody somewhere loves that person. Somebody somewhere cares enough about that person you may not even know. If you can remember that, you're focusing on the behavior. Yeah, okay, I get that. I still don't like how you talk to me. That's the behavior. You're not worried. You're not getting into the person. You're getting into the behavior. And the last slide I have is my contact information. Forgiveness is such an important thing. We may have all heard this before. When you don't forgive someone, really the only person you're hurting is yourself. Many times the person you haven't forgiven has long since moved on. They have totally forgotten about it, or they don't care. Learn to forgive, to release for yourself. That is one of the biggest things you can do in this whole soft skills piece. And then last slide I'll leave with you is my contact information. You're welcome to, I'd love for you to follow me on LinkedIn. If you want to snap the QR code on the right and send me a note, I will send you a copy of this presentation. And I've also created a quick reference guide. It's a back and front sheet that you can print and put on your cube wall or just save for reference that kind of summarizes what we talked about into a quick cheat sheet kind of thing. So I want to thank you all. Let's go into, Adam, if we have a minute or two for some questions. I'd love to see what else we got.
Yep, I got one in the Q&A right now. I believe the word how was alleviated or eliminated at the beginning of the question.
Okay. Let's see. Do you deal with respect and civility to colleagues who do not treat you with respect, right? So how do you deal with respect and civility to colleagues who do not treat you with respect? This is one of the real foundations of why I'm here, is because we deal with this every day. I have a lot of conversations. I mean, maybe not every day, but several times a week with an employee, either at a client or through one of these conversations, where they have this type of question. I'm doing everything I can, and they're still not treating me well. Let's assume that's true. You have to raise that up to someone, whether that's a supervisor or an HR person or your therapist, or do something that helps you talk that through. I gave you a slide before about breathing techniques and talking about it. Those are some things you can do. Assuming good intent, assume that they're not out to get you, that they've never been to one of my seminars and they don't know how to treat someone with respect. So maybe you don't send them a copy of the training. You could just say, can we talk a little bit about our communication? I feel like we're not communicating well. There are some verbal ways that you can do that, which some people aren't comfortable with because that can be considered confrontational, and maybe we don't want to do that. I would, however, suggest to the person who asked this or anyone else who's listening to this, if someone's not treating you with respect, the first thing I want you to do is start with you. Are you truly doing everything? Most of the time, I mean, like 9 out of 10 times, most of the time, I have a mediation session with two employees where one thinks the other one's treating them badly. There's at least two sides to this. I'm sure you all know that. There's usually three. There's your side, my side, and that piece in the middle. That's the reality. And if I have time, so I'll tell you the story in a second. But I want you to recognize that most of the time you have done something or you are doing something that either you're not aware of or you're aware of it and you don't think it's a big deal, that the other person knows very well and thinks it's a big deal. So it could be, I'll give you a very simple, straightforward example. Let's say the two of you are on a team and other person doesn't respect you. You're not sure why. You just know they don't respect you. Or they even said, you're an idiot, you're a jerk, I don't like working with you. They've said some things. Those aren't reasons, by the way. Those aren't root causes. Those are symptoms. So whatever. So they said they don't respect you, or you feel they don't respect you. Most of the time, you have actually done something, again, that you're either aware of and you don't think it's a big deal, or you're not even aware of it. Something as simple as you're coming in 5 minutes late and you don't think it's a big deal. Your boss said it's not a big deal, but the other worker, the coworker, thinks it's a big deal. That's where a lot of this comes from. So start with you. Have I done everything I can? Am I assuming good intent? Am I coming in with a clear mind? Have I learned how to be self-aware? Start with you. Once you've taken care of that, what you will find magically is you are able to handle their disrespect differently. They won't change, but you can change how you receive their disrespect. I hope that helped you and whoever else is listening to that.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry, Adam. I did promise I would tell a story, so I'll tell for whoever's still listening. Back early in my psychology time, when I was going to school, I was in my class of psychology, and this carries over. This is a long time. There's many, many, many other studies like this, but the one that I remember is we had 4 control groups, and all 4 of those control groups are like 5 or 6 people in each control group. I don't remember exactly anymore. It's a long time ago, but I do remember this. Each control group was shown the same picture of 2 vehicles. You saw the front of one vehicle and the back of another vehicle, and it was like a cartoonish front of vehicle, back of vehicle, and they were touching at an angle, and in the middle was this cartoonish star. The implication was the one car and the other car hit each other. All 4 groups were given the same picture, identical pictures, and all 4 groups were told differently. One group was told, here's a picture. I want you to remember this picture, and you're going to tell me what you saw later when I ask you, like an hour later. Another group was given that picture, said, these 2 cars slammed into each other. I want you to remember this picture and tell me about it later. Another group was told, these 2 cars touched each other. I want you to remember this picture and tell me about it later. And the other group was told something like, these 2 cars collided, or there's some other verb or action that they used that later all 4 groups that were given the same picture remembered the picture differently because they were told to remember it differently. If you can think that is a human psychology thing that we have as human beings, our impressions on communication, from visual to verbal to auditory, your taste and touch are part of communication also. You remember it how you remember it. There's an old adage that goes, people years and years from now won't remember what you said to them, but they will remember how you made them feel. If we go back to that question about, I'm not treated with respect, how do I fix that? Start with you. Work through that and practice some of those things, and you will see magically they won't change, but you will. Okay, I'm done.
Awesome sauce. All right. Getting a lot of thank yous.
Oh,
Appreciate
cool.
that.
I appreciate that too. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just going to do something a little different if you guys have not been in a SCORE webinar for a second. So I'm going to go ahead and play a quick video and then we can wrap things up.
Before we wrap up, I want to take just 1 minute to say thank you for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we're honored you chose SCORE to help you grow your business. Now, SCORE has always offered these webinars free of charge. But here's the reality. Due to changes in federal funding, some of our support has been delayed or even cut. And while we're committed to keeping these programs free, we need your help to do it. Think of it like this. 6 Today's webinar gave you real value. Maybe leave us a little tip, the way you would for a waitress who gave great service. Or maybe you want to give forward so the next entrepreneur can benefit just like you did. We're only asking if it's within your means. If it's not, please just keep learning and growing with us. But if you can give $5, $10, $25, whatever feels right will be directly helping us keep these webinars free for everyone. There's a secure link in the chat. Takes less than a minute to make a difference. Thank you again for being here, for your energy, and for supporting SCORE's mission to help entrepreneurs thrive. Before we wrap up, I want to take just 1 minute to say thank you for...
Oh, apparently it's just going to loop, so apologies for that. All right. Let's see if there's any other questions. Doesn't look like that. So, all right. Alan put his contact information in there. So if you guys want to grab that, go ahead. Other than that, I believe
Actually, Adam,
that is everything.
give me 1 second. I put it to just us. So I'm going to put it for all.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
yeah,
also on the slide, of course, right? So everyone can feel free. But thank you, Adam and team, for sticking with me.
All right, terrific.
Super.
There
Thank
it
you.
goes. All right. Perfect. Everybody got everything?
I'm good. Yeah, I hope so.
All right.
Yeah, thanks,
Sounds
Adam.
good.
I appreciate it. And thanks.
Yep,
All.
you bet. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have yourself a great afternoon, and we will see you at the next one.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.